Good day, traders. This is Master FX Yufu, the founder and head trader at the Universal Forex Dojo. Welcome to our very first webinar. Now, most of you guys have heard about me from the Trading Nut interview, which you can find in the link below, and we'll not be dwelling into that. You can just check it out and drop your inboxes on social media, Telegram, Instagram, or drop us an inbox from our website email. Now, all platforms and resources mentioned in this webinar are found at the description below, so you can drop your questions on the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. Our motto: I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. Now, most of you have heard or seen me post this quote a number of times, and this is by far one of the most underrated principles that must be applied in trading by virtually everyone. It ties back to the principle of law of average. Now, this principle states that future events are likely to turn out so that they balance any past deviation. So now, to put this into perspective, one of the worst habits that traders or potential traders get into is strategy or mental hopping. This is usually picked up very early in the journey, and it ends up being a very vicious and costly cycle. So few traders stick to the game long enough to see the rewards of their labor, and they always start at zero a number of times until they give up. So what I'm basically saying is, you'll find a mentor, find a strategy, follow it for, say, for example, a month. You don't see the rewards. You find a new mentor, repeat the same process over and over again. You don't allow the law of average to start playing out. You don't give yourself enough time, enough tries, enough setups to build a system that works for you and that will work for you in the long run. So few traders do stick to the same system long enough for the rewards of their labor to start showing. So you have to give a concept, a mentor, or a strategy enough time, enough tries to render it useless or profitable. There is no holy grail or perfect strategy. You have to put in the one kick 10,000 times to be exceptional. You have to put in the work. You have to make it your own. You have to understand it and apply it the way that works for you, for your specific character, specific lifestyle, specific zone in the world. And that's the only way that you will get to a point where now it starts working for you, and you'll start seeing how the future events start canceling out your past losses. What we'll be covering in this webinar are the basics, the harsh truth of trading, your trader psychology, the trading plan, risk management, prop firms, strategies, and where to from here. Let's hop on now to who this webinar is intended for. Whether you're a beginner trader or a seasoned trader, it will work for you. You will pick up something from it. And for beginner traders who understand the basics, that means now knowing the basic terminology, your stop losses, your entry setups, your TPs, and so forth. You understand your trading platforms, whether it's MetaTrader 4, 5, and other web-based platforms. You need to understand your chart and charting software, whether you're using the default MT4 or you're using the trading view. You need to know that. And if you don't, you have to go into Baby Pips and learn from there, complete the full course, complete the full university, then come back and watch this. Now, seasoned traders need to understand that the nature and technological advancement of the global financial markets keeps improving. We also have to improve day in and day out. That's the only way to survive. And take note, there are no special breeds in the market. It can and it will humble every single participant if it has to. It can and it will humble you at some point. Now, when it comes to the basics, we do have a lot of questions regarding brokers. Now, we have our own partners, based on experience with them. We don't use one broker, so we only keep what we need in that account, and you have to constantly withdraw. These are the risk measures that apply to us, and these are the risk measures that will apply to you, whether you're using a prop firm or you're funding your own account. Always take your profits and reap the rewards. Now, you also have to focus on your spreads, commissions, and the supported platforms. Spreads, commissions, and supported platforms. These costs will determine just how far you can get regarding your stop loss range and your TPs and so forth. If you've got a high cost of entry, that will basically start eating up into your profit, which will start affecting your outcome at the end. And now, remember, now you have to do some deep due diligence of your own to understand which broker will work for you, for your specific situation, the type of deposits that you make, the type of payments that you make, the type of withdrawals that you want, how you'll be withdrawing, which is determined by your country and your jurisdiction, of course. Now, you can use a Forex Peace Army or Trustpilot. We drop the links at the description below to just get better overview of the brokers that you're using. The harsh truth. Now, I may have to spend some time on this topic, and a lot of people really do not. You only see the beauty. You never see the ugly part of the environment. When you step into this field, you have to know the environment. You are not pulling profits out of thin air. This is a zero-sum game. One must lose in order for you to win. You are in the business of taking money from another person's pocket, and the one who's better prepared is the one that will take from the other. You must understand that notion. And we've not even started looking at the fees. So to put this into perspective, you're essentially trying to take money from another individual company whose sole purpose is to take money from you. So to make matters more drastic, you start with a negative foot in the battle due to the cost of actually trading. Now, you start every trade with the odds stacked against you. Now, this notion should make sure you prepare better and be vicious in this market. You have no other alternative, or you just have to step out and leave it. You need to forget the glamorous lifestyle. So very few make it that way. And if they do, it's pretty good. But how many stories closer to you have you heard? You must understand that there will always be losers for the mega rich to make it. So in order for one to make $1 million a month, that $1 million a month is coming from somebody's pocket. Hopefully not you in the future. So until you understand that it is a zero-sum game, it will help you better prepare and know who you're competing with. And also understand that trading from an empty stomach tends to distort your discipline and approach. You end up gambling all because of hope. You end up putting it all in, all hoping for the best reward. You don't follow a process-driven approach. You end up cutting losses too late. You end up taking profits too soon because you don't have a process-driven approach. Next part we are looking at is knowing yourself. Now, knowing yourself will basically be revealed in your trading plan, which is very necessary. You don't know what you don't know yet. And the market tends to humble many to a point of self-introspection, and some it comes with a massive cost. The more you trade, the more you can weed out your character flaws that are moving you astray. Now, this is the fundamental part we cover in the bootcamp, and very, very important. Now, focusing on this part will enable you to determine your trading style, the trading sessions that work for you, the trading pairs that work for you, your most profitable pairs that you need to stay away from, and also pairs that you need to be increasing your focus in, and the best times for you to trade. And there are traders that make the most from trading in sideways markets, so usually those stay away from your London opens, your New York opens, or your Asian close. They trade in between the sessions, and depending on where you are in the world and what time it is at that specific moment, that will determine your habits, which will ultimately determine your trading style. Now, remember that in order for you to know the type of trader that you are, you have to trade. And now it also has to come to a point of why you're trading and what's your ultimate goal. These are very, very important. You need to list them in the beginning, and from then on, start building your journal, review your journal, which will ultimately, like I said, get to the point of knowing who you are and where you fit in the market. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, of course, and that'll help us grow and share the movement. Hopping on now to the trading plan. Now, the trading plan is basically determined by your trading habits, which we just covered just now. This will determine how you approach the market and how you basically take the most out of the market. Remember that professional trading is boring. It is monotonous. It's the same thing day in and day out. If it's exciting, if you're diving in and diving out, and it's basically giving you a thrill, you're definitely doing it wrong, and it will take a lot from you. It will break you, and you will not see any success from it. Now, what this means now is the time you trade, the session you pick, and the approach to the market has to be robotic. It has to be a cycle that you do every single day, which will determine your journal, how your journal plays out. And now it will also determine your optimal trading point, which is where you essentially want to get to. Now, as you journal and get to know yourself, of course, you'll start understanding which trading session fits your unique lifestyle. Now, your trading plan must ultimately be your daily routine. It must include a set number of rules that will ensure that you enter any trade you have, that you enter any trade. Let me repeat that. It must include a set number of rules that will ensure that before you enter any trade, you must have your entry price, your management strategy, your exit plan, and that will ultimately determine how your trading plan works out. Now, we use the Wushu Trade Management Toolbox for this, especially for the trade management. Now, what this means now is we ultimately have to determine our entry point, and it does the rest. It will put in your stop orders, your execution, your break even, your partials, and trails. And then, of course, we have to come back now and journal the trades. This is what we do on a daily basis prior to the London Open. We then allow the Wushu Toolbox to take over and run the entire process. This is due to the fact that we know ourselves, we know our weaknesses, and we know what works for us. Your trading plan has to be systematic and process driven. You will not find yourself trading the Asian session because you're bored. You trade at the times that you are supposed to trade. Risk management. Now, one of you guys would have seen one of our posts on Instagram that states that if you manage your downside, the upside will take care of itself. This is very, very important. Now, I remember reading a book by Warren Buffett, and one of the rules was never lose money, and then the next rule was never forget rule number 1. Now, in order to stay in the game, you have to have money. If you don't have money, you're not in the game long enough to allow the law of average to play out. Now, you will have losing streaks. You need to understand that, and you need to be comfortable with that. There will be losses, whether you like it or not. Now, there are other few platforms that you can use which are free that will ensure that you don't risk too much. Now, we shared this on one of the free trading calculators in a video we posted a couple of months ago. You can check the link at the bottom. That's also another beautiful tool you can use, which will ensure that you are off your platform and it does all the management for you. We know that some people tend to get emotional when trading, and you end up not following the rules. You end up moving your stop losses as your trade gets deeper into a negative, and it starts affecting your outcome. So you have to secure your risk, and you live to see your profitable self in the near future. Too many people are trading indices with minimal capital or high leveraged accounts in the hopes of catching that one trade, and men have fallen due to this no stop loss policy and high risk trades. Now, you've heard many talk about a maximum of 2% or 1% per trade, and would advise that you stick to it. It'll keep you alive long enough to reap the rewards. It'll keep you alive long enough for the law of average to play out. Now, our Wushu default settings is set at 0.5% per trade and maximum loss of 1% per day. So that means now we'd have to lose a lot of times to blow an account, a whole lot of times to blow an account. We'd have to have a very dramatic losing streak to blow an account. So now you can, like I said, you can use a free one and determine those risk default settings for yourself. Prop firms. Now, mentioned above, we spoke about how having enough capital is good if you want to trade for the long term. Now, risking a $500 account on gold or NAS 100 will not work for you, and that's not good. So higher capital yields in lower risk. Now, what that means now is if you are trading a $100,000 account, you don't have to risk 2% or 1% of your account. You can start risking your 0.2, 0.1% of your account and still reap the best rewards with higher RR trades. What this means now is you don't have to trade a lot to be profitable. And of course, you start having better market exposure. And for example, if you have a bigger account, you can trade gold with good risk management. But now if you've got a lower account, you can't trade gold with good risk management. You end up over trading, over risking. Just like your NAS 100 and US 30, your indices, etc., etc. Now there is a current promo with CTI. We'll share the link as well, where I think you'll get a free 40,000. Is it 40,000 or 2,000? I'm not sure. Find an account. We'll share the link in the promo in the description below. Now, prop firms allow you to use the power of leverage, which means reduce risk, forced discipline because of the rules they follow. I mean, you cannot go beyond 5% or 10% loss. They'll just basically take the account away from you. And in order for you to get the account, they need to determine your trading style, your risk management. And once that's determined, then you can have funded account. If not, you will not trade for them. That's what I mean when I say forced discipline. Now, the power of leverage basically means now if you've got a $10,000 account or $10,000 funds to risk, instead of risking the $10,000, you can basically section it out, compartmentalize it, use $1,000 to get a funded account, use that risk to basically start building it up. If you lose that funded account, it definitely does mean that you will lose that $10,000 account in your personal account. So in other words, risk as minimal as possible for the highest amount of capital you can have. So with a $10,000 account, you'd have 10 times to try out a larger capital prop firm account. If you do become successful, then you can start basically reinvesting into your private account and taking it from there. You can check out our prop firm massacre on our bootcamp, where you basically share the approach and style of increasing as much of the prop firms as possible. The trading strategy. So now this is another optimal part that a lot of people ask. I saw in one of the Q&As when we did the poster about how we get to have such a great execution, how we get high RR trades, and so forth. Now, first and foremost, there is no great strategy. There is no perfect strategy. There's one that works for you, which you make better. You work around it to such an extent that you ultimately reap the best out of it, because you would have practiced with it long enough, you would have traded with it long enough, you would have journaled with it long enough. Whether you're using indicators, whether you're using smart money concepts, which we do, or whether you're using price action or supply and demand, it all comes up to your approach and how you manage it. So we managed to find our optimal process and refine execution perfectly through consistent training and practicing. Now this goes back to Pareto's principle, which basically states the 80-20 rule. We don't spend no more than 2 hours a day on the charts because of the whoosh of toolbox, of course. We would get into the market, look for exactly what we want. If we don't see it on the charts, we skip. If you had seen one of our live videos in the morning, you'd see how we approach it. We look at specific things on any price chart based on the daily, the hourly, the 4-hour, and then from there we jump on to the next one. If we don't see and we don't find what we're looking for, we skip it. That's using the same thing over and over again. It's a cycle. Now we focus on high probability trades, high RR trades, 5+, and basically this will determine that you don't have to win every trade. You don't have to win every trade in order for you to be successful. Top-down analysis, we always ensure that we know where our daily zones are. These zones are very important and they're very sensitive. And we start using momentum trading on top of that, which is how the Wushu toolbox works. In essence, when we have a setup, we allow price to basically pass that certain entry point and only trigger the setup when price comes down using momentum or up using momentum. If it's seen that we don't use limit orders because of our tight stops, you'll essentially get wicked out if you do. That's very, very important. Now, our trade management strategy is our focal point, and that's what the Wushu toolbox is optimally built on. The way we exit, the way we move our stops to break even, the way we partial, and the way we trade, that determines a lot. Now, for example, we've got one of our students on the boot camp, and I'll just show you his figures now quickly, and you just understand how it looks. Now, this is his demo account here. Let me just go back into this. If you can take a look at very important elements here. There's a total return of 50% over 15 days. And now something that you need to understand now is this trade win. He's got a 50% win rate, but now the results are extremely high. He wins half of his trades, and that's because of his risk to reward ratio, which we teach in the bootcamp, of course. And look at that, 5.99. The average loss, $85. Average win, almost $200. This is extremely important when you're trading higher RR trades. The worst day he's had was a loss of $350. The worst week, a loss of $140. The worst month, well, which is the current month, is a positive $152. The risk of ruin, also very important. And like I said, if you focus on your RR trades, high RR trades, 5+, you will have to see how it works out for you. And what that means now is it'll determine just how much, or should I say, if you do lose consistently, when you do get those beautiful setups, it will cover your losses and your wins. Now, what we are working on now is the drawdown. It's something that's very, very important. With prop firms, it has to be low, and that's the only way to survive in the prop firm industry. And now for him to get you, I know when we started, he wanted to restart the account because he had a dramatic loss and the time of trading was not working for him. So everything had to be adjusted, going back now to knowing himself and building his character, his lifestyle, and a process-driven approach that works specifically for him. I'm going to show you now his journal, which also goes back to the 10,000 kicks. Let me just zoom out a bit. Everything here is journaled properly. He puts in the work every single day. Process-driven approach, the losses, the wins, why you missed trades, and so forth. This allows us to start building his trading strategy specifically for him. It allows us to start basically understanding how he trades and how he will benefit from which days that work for him, which session that works for him, and how to move from there. I know that with him, he doesn't do the London session anymore. Based on the journal, when we started looking at how he starts losing a lot in the London session, he started focusing on the New York session 2 hours before, where he does all the setups and starts trading from there. And that's the beauty of the bootcamp. The analysis that we do, the way we look into your trading strategy, your journal, and when you lose the most, when you win the most, which pairs work for you, which pairs don't work for you, we refine it, and essentially you get to a point where it is a process-driven approach, and you know exactly what you need to do every single day to reap the best rewards. Now, watch our live streams for a tip into everything that we do, of course, and over and above, get our full course on our bootcamp, and you can get the best out of it. So what's next from here? Subscribe to our channel. We share practical way forward in trading space. We share our trading setups daily. You see how we approach the market. And of course, subscribe to our site to catch all blog posts we share, and then follow our Telegram channel and interact with us, of course. And another thing that you have to do is find a mentor and stick with them for the long run. Get to a point where you can refine his strategy to work for you. You don't have to make the mistakes yourself. Mentors have made the mistakes, so you actually skip that part. There is no way around the hard work. You have to kick 10,000 times, whether you like it or not. Learn from someone else's mistakes, duplicate the working system, pick one, and finish the course. I was going to play this video, but then again, you can just check on YouTube and find it there. Now, the summary of everything we've just covered now is understanding yourself, which covers into psychology, picking the correct brokers, looking at spreads and commissions, your trading strategy, and of course, finding a mentor. We will get deeper into this moving forward and share more webinars with specific topics. And finally, our giveaway for the day. We are giving away 1 month free signals to all of you guys that have watched this, and you have to drop us an inbox, and we'll get you into the signals channel, the premium signals channel. Happy trading, guys. Cheers.